Picture this scenario. You have a credit card with a $5,000 limit. You go out and spend $2,000 on, let's say, furniture for your new apartment. You have the cash sitting in your checking account. You are not worried. You wait for the bill to arrive, and the moment that statement hits your inbox, you pay the full balance. Every single penny. Zero interest charged. You are, by every definition, a responsible borrower. And then 3 days later, you get a notification on your phone. Your credit score just dropped 25 points. Not because you missed a payment. Not because you applied for a new loan. Not because of fraud. You did everything right and the system punished you anyway. Now, if that has ever happened to you, I need you to know something. You are not crazy. You are not bad with money. And the system is not broken. It is just that nobody ever explained to you how it actually works behind the curtain. Because here is the thing most people do not realize. The credit bureaus are not watching a live feed of your bank account. They are not sitting there in real time going, "Oh, she just paid her bill, let's update her score." No. What they are doing is taking a single photograph of your finances once a month, one snapshot. And if that snapshot happens to catch you on the wrong day, the day your balance is sitting high before you have had a chance to pay it off, that is the number that goes on your permanent record for that entire month. It does not matter that you paid it 3 days later. The picture was already taken. And here is where it gets, honestly kind of infuriating. There is a specific date on your credit card statement that controls nearly 30% of your entire credit score. It is not the due date. It is not the payment date. It is a date that most banking apps do not even show you on the main screen. And the difference between knowing that date and ignoring it can literally be the difference between a 740 and an 800+ score, which on a 30-year mortgage translates to tens of thousands of dollars. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what that date is, why your bank is perfectly happy to let you keep missing it, and how moving your payment by just 48 hours can change everything. My name is Finn, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, financial psychology, and why some of the most responsible people I know still get screwed over by systems they were never taught how to navigate. This channel is all about pulling back the curtain on how money actually works. Not the version they teach you in school because, let's be honest, they don't teach you anything useful about money in school. I am talking about the real mechanics. The stuff that is buried in the fine print. The rules that banks and credit bureaus operate by that nobody sits you down and explains. If you are someone who pays your bills on time, tries to do the right thing financially, and still feels like your credit score does not reflect how responsible you actually are, this video is specifically for you. Because today we are going deep into credit utilization. This is, and I am not exaggerating, the single fastest lever you can pull to change your credit score. Payment history takes years to build. Hard inquiries take 2 years to fall off. But utilization? That resets almost instantly, if you know how to control what gets reported and when. We are going to cover exactly when your bank reports your balance to the bureaus, why paying in full is not the same thing as showing a zero balance, and the specific percentage targets the algorithm is looking for that nobody talks about. So if you want to understand the mechanics behind your score and actually take control of it, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you do not miss videos like this. And if this one ends up helping you see your credit card statement differently, give it a thumbs up. It helps more people find this information, and honestly, more people need to know this. Let's get into it. Now, before we dive into the actual mechanics of how this works, let me ask you something. When was the last time you looked at your credit card statement? Not the balance, not the minimum payment, but the actual document? Because there is a date printed on that statement that most people have never once paid attention to. And that date is quietly controlling a massive chunk of your financial reputation every single month. But let me back up for a second. When most people think about being good with credit cards, they picture one thing: pay the bill on time. That is the golden rule, right? Your parents told you. Every personal finance article tells you. Every bank tells you. And they are not wrong. If you pay by the due date, you avoid interest. You avoid late fees. Your payment history stays clean. And payment history is the single biggest factor in your credit score at 35%. So logically, if you are paying on time, every time, in full, you should have an excellent credit score. That is the deal. That is what we were all taught. And here is what actually happens in real life. You pay your bill on time every single month. You never carry a balance. You never pay a cent of interest. And then one day you check your score and it is, sitting at 740, maybe 750, which is good. That is a good score. But it is not great. And you cannot figure out why. You have done everything right. You have followed every rule you were ever taught. And yet somehow, people with similar incomes and similar habits have scores 50 or 60 points higher than you. The reason is that most people only know half the rules. They know the due date rules, pay on time, avoid fees, stay current. But they have never been taught the reporting date rules. And the reporting date rules are, honestly, a completely different game. Think about it this way. Imagine a speed camera on the highway. You are driving to work. For 59 minutes of your commute, you are doing the speed limit. 65 miles an hour. Perfectly legal. But there is one stretch of road where you accelerate to pass a truck, and for about 30 seconds you hit 85. And that is the exact moment you pass the camera. Flash. That is the only thing that gets recorded. Not your average speed. Not your safe driving for the other 59 minutes. Just that one snapshot at the worst possible moment. That is exactly how the credit reporting system works. Your credit card company does not send the bureaus a live feed of your account. They do not report every payment you make in real time. What they do is take one photograph of your balance on one specific day of the month, your statement closing date, and whatever number is sitting on your account in that moment is what gets sent to Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. That is your official balance for the month. Period. So if you spent $3,000 during the month and you were planning to pay it all off when the bill arrived, it does not matter. The camera already flashed. The bureau already received a report showing $3,000 of debt, and your score adjusts accordingly. You could pay it off in full 3 days later, and the bureaus will not know until next month's snapshot. This means there are thousands of people out there right now, responsible people, disciplined people, who are unknowingly showing the credit bureaus their worst day every single month. They are passing the speed camera at 85 every time, not because they are reckless, but because nobody told them where the camera was. But here is where it gets really interesting. Once you know where that camera is, once you know the exact day your bank takes that snapshot, you can control what it sees. And the difference between letting the system photograph you randomly versus staging the photograph yourself, that is worth more money than most people realize. So let's talk about how heavy this actually is. Because I think most people assume utilization is, one of many small factors. A few points here, a few points there. If that is what you think, you are dramatically underestimating what we are dealing with. The FICO scoring model breaks your credit score into 5 categories. Payment history is the biggest at 35%. We all know that one. Length of credit history is 15%. Credit mix is 10%. New credit inquiries are 10%. But the second largest category, coming in at 30%, is amounts owed. And amounts owed is almost entirely driven by one single metric, your credit utilization ratio, 30%. That means nearly 1/3 of your entire financial reputation. The number that determines what interest rate you get on a mortgage, whether you qualify for an apartment, sometimes whether you get a job, nearly 1/3 of that is based on how much of your available credit you happen to be using on the day the camera flashes. It is weighted heavier than how long you have had credit. It is weighted heavier than whether you have a healthy mix of loans and cards. You could have a perfect 10-year payment history, never missed a single due date, but if the bureau catches you at high utilization for 1 month, that 30% slice collapses and it drags your entire score down with it. Now here is where the math starts to matter. Utilization is simple division. Your current reported balance divided by your total credit limit. If you owe $500 on a card with a $1,000 limit, you are at 50% utilization. Easy enough. But the algorithm does not treat this as a smooth sliding scale. It treats it as a series of cliffs. According to data from FICO and multiple analyses from Experian, here is roughly how the thresholds break down. If your utilization is between 1 and 9%, you are in the optimal zone. This is where the algorithm rewards you the most. Between 10 and 29%, you are in good standing. Still a positive signal. But the moment you cross 30%, you hit the first cliff. The scoring model starts treating you as a moderate risk. Your score takes a noticeable hit. Cross 50%, and the model sees a serious warning sign. Cross 75%, and you are in crisis territory. And if you approach 100%, your score goes into free fall regardless of how perfect the rest of your profile is. But here is the part that surprises most people. This does not just apply to your overall utilization across all your cards combined. It also applies to each individual card separately. So let's say you have $50,000 of total available credit across 5 cards. Your overall utilization might look fantastic. But if one of those cards has a $500 limit and you have $480 on it, that single card is reporting 96% utilization, and the algorithm flags it. It does not care that your other 4 cards are at 0. It sees one account that looks like it is about to default, and it penalizes you for it. I have seen people with 800 credit scores drop into the 730s practically overnight because they booked a family vacation on a low-limit card. No missed payments, no new debt. Just one utilization spike on the wrong card on the wrong day. And this is the moment where most people panic. They check their app, see the drop, and assume something is broken. They think it is fraud, they think the bank made an error, but it is not an error. It is just the cold math of the 30% weighting doing exactly what it was designed to do. Because historically, the data shows that people who max out their available credit are statistically more likely to default. So the model adjusts your score immediately to reflect that increased risk. Even if you are the most responsible borrower on the planet, the algorithm does not know your intentions. It only knows the snapshot. But here is the thing that makes this different from almost every other factor in your score. And honestly, this is the part that changes everything. Utilization has no memory. Unlike a missed payment, which stays on your report for 7 years, utilization resets completely every single month. If you were at 90% utilization in January and your score crashed, but you bring it down to 5% in February, your score bounces back as if the 90% never existed. The old data point is gone, erased, replaced, which means this is not a problem you need years to fix. This is a problem you can fix in 30 days or less, if you know how to control the snapshot. Now let me show you exactly how to do that, step by step. And I want to start with a strategy that sounds counterintuitive but is backed by FICO's own data on what the highest scorers in the country actually do. So let me show you the actual fix. And I want to be upfront. Calling this a hack is generous. It is really just a timing adjustment. But it is a timing adjustment that most people never think to make because nobody told them there was a timing problem in the first place. Here is the principle. Instead of waiting for your bill to arrive and then paying it, you pay the bill before it is generated. You pay down your balance 3 to 4 days before your statement closing date, not before the due date, before the closing date. These are 2 completely different dates and most people only know one of them. Let me walk you through a specific example. Say your billing cycle runs from the 1st to the 30th of the month. During those 30 days, you are spending normally. Groceries, gas, whatever. Your balance climbs to, let's say, $2,000. On the 30th, the cycle closes and the bank generates your statement. That $2,000 balance is the number that gets reported to the bureaus. But what if on the 27th, 3 days before the cycle closes, you logged in and paid off $1,990? When the statement generates on the 30th, it shows a balance of $10. That $10 is what gets sent to Experian. That is the photograph the bureau receives. And suddenly, instead of showing 40% utilization on a $5,000 card, you are showing 0.2%. You used the card normally. You spent the same amount. But the record looks completely different. You have essentially curated your own credit report. Now you might be thinking, okay, Finn, but if I leave that $10 balance, do I not pay interest on it? And this is where people get tripped up by terminology. So let me be very clear about this before we go any further. Reporting a balance is not the same thing as carrying a balance. These 2 phrases sound similar, but they are financially completely different situations, and confusing them is what stops most people from using this strategy. Carrying a balance means you did not pay your full statement by the due date. You let some of the debt roll over into the next month. That is when you get charged interest. That is the expensive mistake. Reporting a balance simply means that on the day your statement closes, there was a number greater than 0 on your account. That is it. It just means the camera caught something. But you still have 20 to 25 days after that statement closes to pay it off in full and owe 0 interest. So in our example, the statement closes on the 30th, showing $10. Your due date is not until roughly the 25th of the next month. You have almost a full month to pay that $10. As long as you pay it by the due date, you pay 0 interest. 0. You get the benefit of showing activity on your credit report, and you get the benefit of paying no interest. You are, threading the needle between two dates that most people think are the same date. Think about it this way. The statement closing date is when the camera takes the picture. The due date is when you have to settle the bill. Most people only manage the due date because that is the one their banking app screams at them about. But the closing date is the one that actually shapes your credit score. And it is usually buried 2 or 3 taps deep in your account settings. This distinction, once you understand it, unlocks something that I think is the single most powerful optimization in the entire credit scoring system. And here is where it gets counterintuitive. Because once people learn about the statement date hack, the natural instinct is to pay everything to 0 before the statement closes. If low utilization is good, 0 must be perfect, right? Stop right there. Because consistently reporting a 0 balance across every single card can actually result in a lower score than reporting a small balance. I know that sounds insane. But the scoring model is designed to assess how you manage debt. If your report shows 0 owed month after month across every account, the algorithm has no data on how you handle repayment. You look like a ghost. You are not demonstrating the behavior the model is trying to score. In the eyes of the algorithm, a person who does not appear to use credit is slightly riskier than a person who uses it and manages it well. It is like applying for a cooking job with a perfectly clean kitchen. The interviewer does not know if you are a great chef who keeps things spotless or if you have never actually turned on the stove. Data from FICO's own research on high achievers, people with scores above 800, shows that they average roughly 4 to 7% utilization, not 0. They carry a tiny reported balance, just enough to prove they are actively using credit and managing it responsibly. So the goal is not to erase your balance from the report. The goal is to shrink it to almost nothing while still leaving a pulse. This brings us to a strategy that people in the credit optimization world call AZEO. It stands for all 0 except 1. The idea is simple but precise. If you have multiple credit cards, you pay all of them down to 0 before their statement closing dates. Every card except 1. For that one remaining card, you pay it down so that it reports a tiny balance, $10, $20. Roughly 1% of the limit on that card. If you only have one card, just aim for that 1 to 7% reported balance and you are good. So let's say you have 4 credit cards. Card 1 has a $10,000 limit. Cards 2, 3, and 4 have various limits. Before each of their statement dates, you pay them to 0. But for card 1, you leave a small balance of, say, $100. That is 1% of 10,000. When the statements close across all 4 cards, the bureaus receive reports showing 0, 0, 0, and 1%. Your overall utilization is extremely low. You have one active account showing responsible use, and every other account shows 0 balance. This specific mathematical state triggers the highest possible points in the amounts owed category. You are telling the algorithm exactly what it wants to hear. Yes, I use credit. Yes, I keep it absurdly low. Yes, I am active and responsible. Now I want to be honest about something. This level of micromanagement is not something you need to do every single month for the rest of your life. That would be exhausting and honestly unnecessary. I personally only do the full AZEO protocol when I know I am going to apply for something in the next 60 days. A mortgage, a car loan, a new credit card. That is when every single point matters, and the difference between a 760 and an 800 can translate to real money. According to FICO's own loan savings calculator, on a $300,000 30-year mortgage, the difference between a rate at 760 and a rate at 800 can save you somewhere in the range of $20,000 to $40,000 over the life of the loan depending on market conditions. That is not points on a screen. That is a car. That is a year of college tuition. That is real money earned by moving a payment 3 days earlier on a calendar. For the rest of the year, when you are not applying for anything, just keeping your utilization naturally below 10 to 15% is usually enough to stay in excellent territory. The AZEO method is your precision tool. You pull it out when precision matters. All right, so you have the theory. Now let me give you the exact step-by-step protocol because this is where most people mess it up in practice. The number one reason people fail at this is autopay. If you have autopay set to pay your statement balance on the due date, you have already lost the utilization game. Autopay is designed to keep you from being late. It is not designed to optimize your score. Those are two completely different objectives. To use this strategy, you have to turn off the autopilot and take manual control. Step 1. Find your statement closing date for every card you own. This is not always easy. Most banking apps put the due date front and center because that is what they want you focused on. The closing date is usually buried. Go to the Statements tab, open a PDF of a past bill, and look for where it says Billing Cycle Ends or Next Closing Date. Once you find it, put it in your phone calendar as a recurring monthly event. Step 2. Set a reminder for 2 to 3 days before each closing date. That buffer matters because bank transfers can take a day or two to clear and post to your account. If your card closes on the 15th, your reminder should fire on the 12th or the 13th. Step 3. On your reminder day, log in and check your current balance. Do the math. If you want to report $10, subtract 10 from your balance and push that payment manually right then. Do not wait for autopay. Initiate it yourself. Step 4. After the statement closes, you will get an email or notification saying your new statement is ready. Open it. Confirm the balance matches what you intended. If it says new balance $10, you nailed it. Step 5. Make sure that remaining small balance gets paid before the actual due date. If you still have autopay as a safety net for this final step, that is fine, but check it manually the first few times. You do not want to be so clever with your utilization that you accidentally miss a payment and trade a temporary score boost for a permanent late mark on your report. Now here is something important. There is a version of this strategy that can actually get your accounts shut down, and I want to make sure you understand the line so you do not accidentally cross it. It is called credit cycling. Here is what it looks like. You have a card with a $1,000 limit. You spend $1,000. You pay it off mid-month. Then you spend another $1,000, pay it off again, then another $1,000. In one billing period, you have run $3,000 of spending through a card that only has a $1,000 limit. You might think the bank loves this because you are an active customer generating transaction fees. You would be wrong. To a bank's risk department, this pattern looks like money laundering or what they call bust-out fraud. It flags you immediately. Here is the distinction. Paying down your balance once before the statement date to manage your utilization snapshot, that is fine. That is just smart timing. But repeatedly paying down and re-spending to artificially extend your credit limit multiple times within a single cycle, that is cycling. And banks do not tolerate it. They gave you a $1,000 limit for a reason. That is the maximum exposure they agreed to take on with you. When you cycle through it 3 times, you are forcing them to process $3,000 of risk on a $1,000 agreement. This can trigger a financial review where they freeze your accounts and demand tax returns. Or, they might just close your account entirely without warning. The rule of thumb is simple. Keep your monthly spending within your credit limit even if you are paying it down early. If you consistently find yourself needing to pay mid-cycle just to keep using the card, that is not a payment timing problem. That is a credit limit problem. And the solution is to call your issuer and request a higher limit. And speaking of credit limits, this is the part of the equation that most people completely overlook. Because there is a way to make the utilization math work in your favor permanently without ever touching the statement date hack. Remember, utilization is a fraction. Balance divided by limit. Most people focus entirely on shrinking the top number, the balance. But you can also grow the bottom number, the limit. And growing the denominator is, honestly, the lazier and more sustainable approach. If you have a $2,000 limit and you spend $1,000 a month, you are sitting at 50% utilization every cycle. That is rough on your score. But if you call your issuer and get that limit raised to $10,000, that same $1,000 of spending is now 10% utilization. You did not change your behavior at all. You did not pay anything early. You just made the pool bigger so the water level looks lower. Most major issuers will consider a credit limit increase if you have been a customer for 6 months or more, you have a history of on-time payments, and your income supports it. Some issuers like, American Express let you request an increase directly through the app in about 30 seconds. Others require a phone call. One thing to watch out for. Some issuers do a hard inquiry when you request a limit increase, and some do a soft inquiry. A hard inquiry temporarily dings your score by a few points. So before you call, do a quick search for whether your specific issuer does a hard or soft pull for limit increases. If it is a soft pull, there is essentially no downside. The ideal setup for easy utilization management is having enough total available credit that your normal monthly spending naturally falls below 10%. If you spend $3,000 a month across all your cards, you want at least $30,000 in total available credit. At that point, the math works in your favor automatically and you barely have to think about it. And this connects to one final defensive move that I see people mess up constantly: closing old credit cards. It makes intuitive sense, right? You have an old card you never use. It is just sitting in a drawer. Maybe it has a small annual fee, or maybe it is just cluttering up your wallet. So you call the bank and close it. Feels like tidying up your financial life. But in the context of utilization, closing a card is almost always a mistake. Because when you close that card, you are removing its credit limit from your total available credit. And that changes your utilization math overnight. Let me give you a quick example. Say you have 3 cards with limits of $10,000, $5,000, and $5,000. Total available credit is $20,000. You carry a $2,000 balance across your active cards. That is 10% utilization. Solid. Now you close that old $5,000 card you never use. Your total available credit drops to $15,000. Same $2,000 balance, but now your utilization is 13%. You just increased your utilization by 30% without spending a single extra dollar. And if that card you closed was your oldest account, you have also shortened your average age of credit history, which is another factor in your score. Double hit. The smarter move is to keep old cards open. If you are worried about them going inactive and the issuer closing them on you, put one small recurring charge on each card. A streaming subscription, a cloud storage plan, something for $5 or $10 a month. Set it to autopay. You will never think about it again, but that card stays active, its limit stays in your denominator, and it keeps quietly padding your utilization math in the background. Think of these old cards as ballast on a ship. You do not notice them when the water is calm. But if you throw them overboard, you will definitely notice when the ship starts rocking. So let's run the real numbers that most people never bother to calculate, because when we talk about credit score points, it sounds abstract. Oh, I lost 20 points. Oh, I gained 15 points. It feels like a video game. But these points translate directly into interest rates, and interest rates translate directly into money leaving your bank account every single month for decades. Let me show you what I mean with a scenario that millions of people are living right now. Let's say 2 people both buy a home. Same house, same neighborhood, same $350,000 mortgage, same 30-year term. Person A has a credit score of 760. They did everything we talked about today. They managed their utilization, timed their payments, ran the AZEO protocol before applying. They qualify for a rate of, let's say, 6.5%. Person B has a score of 690. Not a bad score. Above average, actually. But they never learned about the statement date. They let their utilization report at 35, 40% every month because they always paid on the due date and assumed that was enough. They get offered 7.2%. The difference between 6.5 and 7.2% on a $350,000 loan over 30 years is roughly $55,000 to $60,000 in additional interest. Person B pays $60,000 more for the exact same house, same walls, same roof, same mailbox. $60,000 difference because of when they made a payment on their credit card. And here is what makes that number even more painful. That $60,000 does not buy them anything. It does not add a room to the house. It does not upgrade the kitchen. It just evaporates into the bank's revenue line. It is the cost of not knowing a date on a piece of paper. Now multiply that across a lifetime of borrowing. The car loan at a slightly higher rate. The refinance that did not qualify for the best tier. The apartment that required a larger security deposit because the landlord saw a lower score. The insurance premium that was quietly adjusted upward because, yes, some insurers use credit-based scores to set rates. When you add all of these friction costs together over 20 or 30 years, we are talking about 6 figures of wealth that simply did not get built. Not because the person was irresponsible, not because they overspent, but because they paid on the 25th instead of the 12th. I have seen people who earn 6 figures, who save diligently, who do almost everything right, and their credit score sits at 740 because they have one card that consistently reports high utilization. They check their score, feel frustrated, and assume the system is just unfair. And the thing is, I understand that frustration because from their perspective, they are doing everything they were taught to do. The problem is that what they were taught was incomplete. But here is something else worth knowing. The scoring landscape is changing. Most lenders currently use FICO 8, which is the snapshot model we have been discussing today. It has no memory. Last month's utilization does not affect this month's score. That is what makes the statement date hack so effective right now. But newer models like FICO 10T are starting to use what is called trended data. Instead of looking at one snapshot, FICO 10T analyzes your balance trajectory over the last 24 months. It can see patterns. Are your balances trending upward month after month? Are you consistently running high and paying down at the last second? Or are you genuinely maintaining low balances over time? This means the statement date hack still works for the utilization component, but the window for gaming the system with pure timing is, slowly narrowing. The smarter long-term play is to combine the timing strategy with genuinely keeping your spending manageable relative to your limits. Use the hack when you need precision points for a major application, but build real low utilization habits for the trended data models that are coming. FICO 10T adoption is still slow. Most mortgage lenders have not switched yet, but it is the direction the industry is moving, and the people who start building clean 24-month trends now will be the ones who benefit most when the transition happens. The difference between someone who understands all of this and someone who does not is not intelligence. It is not discipline. It is not income. It is just information. And honestly, that is what frustrates me the most about the credit system. The rules are not secret. They are just never taught. Nobody sits you down at 18 and explains statement closing dates and utilization thresholds and AZEO strategies. You are handed a credit card and told good luck, pay on time, and then left to figure out the rest on your own. The people who figure it out early build wealth faster. Not because they earn more, but because every dollar they borrow costs them less. And over a lifetime, that advantage compounds in ways that most people never calculate until it is too late to capture. Look, learning about statement closing dates and utilization thresholds is not going to make you wealthy overnight. Moving a payment 3 days earlier on a calendar is not a retirement plan. And I do not want anyone walking away from this video thinking they have found some magic cheat code that replaces actually earning, saving, and investing over time. But it will change how much every dollar you borrow costs you for the rest of your life. And that is not a small thing. That is the difference between paying $60,000 extra on a mortgage or keeping that money in your own pocket. That is the difference between qualifying for the best rate or settling for whatever they offer you because your score did not quite make the cut. The banking system is built on rules. Most people only learn the ones about fees and interest because those are the rules the banks want you to know. But the rules about reporting and data and timing are just as powerful, and now you know them. So here is what I want you to do. Pick one card. Just one. Find the statement closing date. Set a reminder for 3 days before it, pay down the balance, and then watch your credit monitoring app over the next 30 days. When you see that score move, come back to this video and leave a comment with how many points changed. Not because I need the validation, but because every comment like that helps someone else scrolling through the feed realize this actually works. Because the system was not designed to be understood by you, but now you understand it anyway. and that changes everything. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.